Hi everyone, so what am I doing? I'm working through exercise 8 of Wesboss's JavaScript 30, which is fun with HTML5 canvas. I'm actually working, sort of copying what he's doing as I go somewhat, but I'm also trying to do this in TypeScript. So what you need to know about TypeScript is it does some, it does strict, or it does what do they call it? Strong type checking. So every function has a return type, and every variable that you declare has some kind of type, and it checks that the types all match up as the flow of your code progresses. It does that at compile time, so before you've even run any code in your browser. And what I want to show you here really is how turning on strict type checking can improve your code and help you as you go through. I'm in Sublime Text, and I have the TypeScript extension installed. So I actually get all sorts of errors and stuff inside my text editor even before I've compiled any code. And just so we can quickly see what's going on here, so I've got a canvas and I'm doing document.querySelector canvas. Wesboss does document.querySelector hash draw or something. The difficulty with this in TypeScript is that TypeScript can't work out what type of element is being returned if you use a class selector or an ID selector. Whereas if I do, you could, I believe, do canvas hash draw and that would be fine, but actually I've only got one canvas, so I'm just doing canvas, and it knows when it's doing query selector canvas, this is going to return an HTML canvas element. And just to show you how I come across these types, because I don't always know what these types are, but generally I'm expecting when I query select a canvas, I'm going to get something that's of a canvas kind of type. So if I type canvas, then the TypeScript plugin inside my text editor is helping me auto-complete this. Not seeing anything here, but I've kind of learned that document elements have, they start with HTML, so I can get an HTML canvas element. Oops. Let's do that and complete that. So the autocomplete in the browser is also really helpful. I've also doing get context here, and this is returning a canvas rendering context 2D. So I've got const, this is declaring a variable. I've got my variable name and then a colon, then the type of the variable. And what you'll see is if I make this like 300 or something, then I get a red underline and it says type of 300. So this number is not assignable to a canvas rendering context 3D, sorry, 2D. So it's saying because this context is of type canvas rendering context 2D, I must assign something which is a canvas rendering context 2D to it. So we'll undo that and that little error will go away. I'm setting my canvas width and height. I'm setting some other stuff in the context, getting ready to do the work. And then I've got some variables that I'm setting. One is a Boolean, X and Y are numbers, which are set to zeros. I've got my draw function, which takes an event. Let's put a space in there. Returns null. I'm being really explicit about returning something here and returning it as null. I'm logging the event. Then, if my isDrawing is true, I'm then also logging the word drawing. And we should be able to see all this working over here with my compiled code. Let's just reload. As I move my mouse around, you'll see my mouse move events are logged. And if I click the mouse, then the word drawing is also logged. So this is all working as it should. So it's great. Just on my command line, I'm going to show you, let's clear this, some historical stuff over here. So I can compile using TSC and then just giving it main.ts, which is my TypeScript file. That will compile the code. That's all fine. Let's come back clean. I can do TSC -w, which watches this file for changes and recompiles it whenever it changes. So that works. And I'll just leave it at that for now. Now, what I want to do now is I want to turn on what's called strict type checking. So I can do this using TSC -strict -w. So this turns on strict type checking and then watches the main.ts file. And what you'll see is that I get, oh, hang on, there's some weird errors have popped up. This is because I'm now doing strict type checking. These errors don't appear in my editor here, but what I can do is if I cancel out of that, I can do tsc minus minus init. This will create a tsconfig.json file, and this has strict set to true. So this gives me my TypeScript settings for this directory or this project. This sets strict to true, and then over in here you'll see I've now got these two errors listed. So what's this telling me? This is telling me that okay, HTML canvas element or null is not assignable to type HTML canvas element. So what's that saying is this expression here can return an HTML canvas element, which is what I've told it, but if there is no canvas element, it could return null. So I'm going to put in here or null, and then that gets rid of that error. And this is the same kind of thing here. So context canvas rendering context 2D or null is not assignable to canvas rendering context 2D. So actually this could be null as well. I could get around this by grabbing this and then saying if this is null then assign it, and if it's not then don't. But this will do for now. What this has done, this has pushed the error further down. So I've now got canvas.width I'm setting, but at this point canvas could be null. So actually this is catching an error case, which could crop up in the browser if I don't have a canvas. This variable could be null, and I can't set width on null. So actually what I want to do here is say if I have a canvas, then I can set those two things. And then that also applies down here to these event listeners. So I can only set event listeners if I have a canvas. So let's copy those and put those in up there. And what that's done is that even though TypeScript looks like it's really annoying and reporting all sorts of errors to me all the time, it's reporting errors to me as I type my code out inside my text editor. It's actually reporting problems that could come up when I run this, like the edge case of there not being a canvas element. I've actually caught that edge case now, and I've handled it. I've dealt with that edge case. It's not going to come up in this particular WesBoss exercise because it's a trivial exercise, but you get the idea of how this could help you spot errors, hopefully. I've now got some errors with my context, and this is because context could possibly be null as well. So probably what I want to do here is not... Oh, here we go. We've also got something here. So the canvas could be null up here. So I need to do this assignment. So pop that in here. So I'm going to do that in there. Once I know I've got a canvas, then I'm going to set my context. Now what's going on here? So this error is now const declarations must be initialized. I'm actually going to change this as well, aren't I? So let's just see how this plays out. So I'm going to set this to null to start with. So I'm going to declare that I'm going to have a variable that can be a canvas rendering context 2D, or it can be null. I'm going to set it to null to start with, and then down here it's going to say, well, you can't assign context because it is a constant. So actually, because I'm going to change this, let's let instead of const, and that error goes away. I've now got my context, so I can then set these things here for it. And then those errors should also... Oh, what's it complaining about now? Oh, this could be null, of course. So I need to then wrap this in if I have a context. Then do all these things. Now all my errors have gone away. I've got some more bulletproof code because I'm actually testing for these null conditions that I could have. And if I go, let's just check it's compiled. Oh, I haven't been running my compiler, so I'm going to go tsc. I think this will pick up on the existence of my config file. So I'm going to main.ts. Okay, I'm guessing that's done the strict type checking, but it's compiled it for me anyway. And then refresh in the browser. I'm still getting my mouse moves, and if I click with the mouse, I'm still getting the drawing being logged. So there we go. So TypeScript does look a little bit annoying. Oh, that's another thing here actually, is we get loads of pop-up inline help from the TypeScript plugin inside Sublime Text that's telling me all sorts of stuff about what add event listener does and what various different parameters to these things are. So get context here tells me what the parameters are and stuff. So yeah, though all this TypeScript stuff can be really annoying and in your face and nagging you to do stuff, it's actually helped me write some better code. It's helped me avoid errors that might happen at runtime when the code is actually running in the browser by making me catch them before I've even compiled the code or at compile time. I should also just say that so I've written these here as little arrow functions, which are ES6. And if you look at my target code in my main.js, it has actually compiled these down into the older JavaScript ES5 syntax. So I've got standard functions instead of arrow functions. And you can control all of that from here. So my target here is ES5, but I could target that as ES6. And it will then, let's cancel out of here, recompile. Hopefully we should see that this now is it updated. Maybe it didn't pick up on that when it compiled it. Okay, what I'm going to do is just going to force it to use if I do -p dot, I then need to, so I'm then using this as what's called a project. So I then need to set what my files are going to be. My files are main.ts. So I've now got this config file is now a project file. And so if I do tsc -p dot, this says, if I just do tsc, actually it'll pick up on the fact that I have a project file. And it will just compile that. Now let's see. Yeah, so I'm now in here, I've said my target code is ES6, so my output code maintained the arrow functions. If I change that back to ES5, recompile, that's complete. This will refresh in the editor and you'll see it's gone back to converting to ES5. So TypeScript, it's making things slightly more complicated in that I'm having all these type annotations, but it's helping me write better code from the get-go. So there we go. That's how I'm getting on with TypeScript. You know what? I've come back because I was going to do the next steps of the exercise. So I was going to show what happens when we start doing the drawing. So we're going to add this context begin path, context move to, context line to, and look at how TypeScript helps us do the next bit of code. So this is all in my draw function over here. So once I've logged stuff, I'm going to do context. I call my variable context rather than ctx. Context dot, what does he do? Begin path. Okay, context dot move to, and then we're going to, this is helpful because it pops up what the parameters are. We're going to move to last x and last y. And then we're going to line to e.offset x, e.offset y. What's it complaining about? See, it's already complaining about something that's going to help me out. Object is possibly null. So I can only do this if I have a context. So now, interestingly, this is where TypeScript has failed because I've only added the event listener if there's a canvas. So it's not clever enough to work out that I only added this draw handler if I had a canvas. So it can't follow that asynchronous workflow or asynchronous logic through. But it encourages us to do a check here instead. So let's just make sure we have a context before we do stuff with it. So that's good, those errors have gone. So if I have a context, I can do these things. I'm going to move to, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to line to my event. So I've declared my parameter to my callback to be of event type. So I'm going to line to e.offset x and e.offset y, and then ctx.strings or context for me. dot check. You'll also see it's auto-completing because it knows what type context is. It knows that context is a canvas rendering context 2D, and it knows what all of the different available methods and properties of that kind of thing are. So yeah, I can, and that's how it's able to pop up the parameters and stuff. So it actually helps me, knowing what the type is enables the text editor to be able to show me help about the object and auto-completes for the objects that I have. So that's pretty cool. So I've done that. I've now got these two errors here on offset X and offset Y, and it's saying that offset X does not exist on type event. So this is what I'm thinking now is, okay, well, if this isn't an event, maybe offset X and offset Y don't exist on the generic event. So maybe I'm getting a more specific type of event come in here, and this is happening on a mouse move event. So let's see if autocomplete will help me out. So I can get a mouse event. That sounds like it might be the right thing. So I've now specified that a particular type of event is going to come into here, and those errors have gone away. So TypeScript again, just helping me write the right code, write the right type annotations, helping me get autocomplete and help for what I'm doing. It's just proving really, really helpful and helping me write better, more stable, more reliable code. Yeah, and moves a lot of error checking and stuff into my text editor. It's super helpful.